I feel like I should probably just record myself saying the sentence, "There has been a new Battle Royale game released," just to save myself some time over the next 12 months, because guess what? There's another new Battle Royale game that's just released. It's not Cuisine Royale, we've already covered that, and I'm not joking. This game is called Realm Royale, but you might know its previous name as Paladins Battlegrounds, but this is what it's become, and considering all of the lawsuits flying around, it was probably a smart move to change the name. Now, Realm Royale started life as a game mode for Paladins, but it's now branched off into its own product, and earlier this month it released into alpha on Steam, and it also happens to be free to play. Yay! The game is being made by Hi-Res Studios, and I just mentioned that it started life as a mode in Paladins, which of course Hi-Res also make, but they're responsible for Smite, which is a third-person MOBA. Smite maybe isn't as popular as it used to be, but when it was released and for a couple of years after, it did pretty well for itself. So when I tell you that Realm Royale does things a little bit differently with classes and abilities in Battle Royale that you can source from the world, you know that the studio has got plenty of experience with those type of mechanics from their previous games. But as I mentioned, this is a Battle Royale game, so the core mechanics of BR are here. You jump into the world from an airship and you try to pick somewhere that you can get looted. You start with a basic class ability and a melee weapon, and then the fog, as it's called in this game, will move in at a predetermined rate, pushing the players together. Pretty standard stuff, you know how it works. No parachutes here, or gliders like you may have seen in PUBG or Fortnite, as Realm Royale doesn't seem to have any fall damage whatsoever, so you just hit the floor like Thor. It's great. Interestingly, you can hear and see when other players have landed near you, so pay close attention. One thing that I do really like about this game though is that the first zone is shown on the map instantly, so you can plan your drop accordingly and base it around that, rather than getting into a situation where you drop and find out that the zone is on the other side of the map. And moving around in Realm Royale is far easier than in other BR games anyway, thanks to your trusty steed. Yes, you've got a horse. Now at any given moment you can call in your horse, that's right. He or she, whatever you want, takes a few seconds to spawn in, but you're able to move around much faster on the horse, but you can't fire. At least it doesn't seem like you can. And then at any point you can disembark. Now in the few games that I played, I never had any issues with getting caught in the fog or struggling to reach the zone. And some classes have very useful movement abilities as well, but more on that shortly. So when you're airdropping into the map, you also get positions of something very important called a forge. And these are places all around the maps that have a very important role. Ideally, you want to spawn pretty close to one if possible, because here's how it works. So the forge is used to craft numerous items, from health potions, used to heal of course, and armor potions, you can work that one out, but also it can craft your legendary class weapon, which is different based on what class you choose at the beginning of the game, as well as a legendary class ability and legendary armor. So if I'm playing as a hunter, for example, my legendary class weapon is, you guessed it, a bow, which is crazy good by the way, but if I'm playing as the warrior, I get a big axe. Each of these items requires a certain amount of currency called shards, and you get these shards by disenchanting items that you don't need. So say you come across a shotgun you don't want, or a piece of armor that's no good, then you can disenchant it and you get shards back in return. You can then use these to craft armor and weapons at the forge, but there is a wait time for each one, so you've got to be careful of enemies when you're doing this. So to get your legendary weapon though, there's one more item you need, a chicken trophy, and you only get that from either killing an enemy or picking one up from someone who was already killed. You can only carry 200 shards and one chicken trophy at a time, so you'll need to decide what items that you want to forge first, and then either stick around that forge or move on to another one somewhere different. They are usually pretty contested though, especially in early game. So let's talk about those classes then. When you spawn into a lobby, you get to choose between 5 different classes: Assassin, Hunter, Warrior, Mage and Engineer. And each class has a legendary weapon that only that class can use, as well as a passive ability. For example, the Assassin's passive ability is a 10% ground speed increase, and they're mainly a class about stealth and mobility, and so their passive ability allows you to run faster than any other class. And your class weapon with this dude is a super accurate sniper rifle. And then the assassin's abilities include Blink, which teleports you forward a short distance, a concussion bomb, a sensor drone, a smoke screen and a ghost walk, which allows you to be untargetable and move 20% faster. You will find abilities of various rarity around the world, and you can pick up the ones that you feel suit your playstyle the most. Next up is the Engineer, and this class gains 5 armor per second as their passive ability, and they seem to be a much better defensive class. Of course, it's pretty useful to regen armor if you don't have any potions to hand. He also has a plasma launcher for his class weapon, and the Engineer's abilities include a thrust, which lets him jump upwards into the air, a barricade that will block enemy shots, a turret that can be set up to shoot at enemies, a firebomb that leaves a pool of fire, and a healing totem that can be deployed to heal allies. Yes, the game has duos and squads. And then what about the Warrior? Well, I enjoyed playing as the Warrior. It's a bit like the Engineer that they get a useful passive ability whereby they regain 5 health per second. So if you like to play aggressive, it seems that the Warrior is one of the better classes for that style of play. His class weapon is also a very large axe. What's not to love about that? It's totally Stormbringer. And the Warrior's abilities include a Heroic Leap, a charge that is sort of a dash that damages an enemy if it hits them, a net shot that can be thrown to slow enemies down, a flask that can heal allies, and a shielding potion that can shield allies. Simples. Mage is the next class, yet they've actually mixed wizards with modern weapons. It's crazy. Now the Mage passive ability gives you 30% potion effectiveness, as you would expect from a mage. So depending on what abilities you equip, you could be more of a defensive mage or an attacking one, as some are based around dealing damage and others just about staying alive. Now the mage's class weapon is a stone spear which fires off bursts of projectiles, and when it comes to abilities, Sword lets you fly through the air. That one's pretty cool. Explosive Flask will slow down enemies if you hit them with it. Fireball is a large ball of fire that will damage any enemy that it passes through. Ice Block allows you to turn into a block of ice, making you immune to all incoming damage, but also meaning that you can't move. And lastly, you can deploy a wall that blocks movement. And the final class we've got, at least for now, is the Hunter. I think this is my personal favourite from my time spent playing the game, mainly because of its bow. The Hunter's passive ability is a 10% swap and reload speed boost. Because of the class weapon, the longbow, you can play the Hunter up close or from a distance, and with some well placed shots you can deal some real damage. The Hunter's abilities include a dodge roll to quickly roll in the direction that you're moving, a proximity mine, a blast shot that is an explosive projectile that damages enemies, a flare that will reveal enemies in a large radius, and withdraw, which is a leap backwards that enters stealth to get you out of a fight if you need to escape in a pinch. Now, one of the more interesting parts of Realm Royale is how all of these different classes and abilities stack up when you're playing duos or squads, because they all play very differently with abilities that can work well together, and I think that it puts an interesting twist on the squad BR genre. What about the visuals? Well, as you can see, it's very likely to be compared to Fortnite because it does have a very Fortnite feel to it with the cartoon visuals. And this game clearly doesn't take itself too serious, because when you kill an enemy, you turn them into a chicken. Even in solos, when you kill someone or get killed, you can turn into a chicken. And if you're not killed as the chicken in 30 seconds, you spawn back as a player. So sometimes it can be quite annoying to get a kill on a chicken that's jumping around, but thankfully they are large enough that it's not a problem. So while comparisons will be made to Fortnite, remember that Realm Royale is based on Paladins, and that has been in open beta since the end of 2016, and Paladins I think has always had a unique and interesting art style. Now the game itself runs and plays pretty good, and while it's not ready for full release just yet, it's quite impressive how well the game plays at such an early stage. The gunfights are fun, and the core mechanics, so like the movement and the weapons, feel pretty good. Although I will say that the gunplay definitely needs some refinement. It just feels a bit too easy right now. There are some clearly overpowered items in the game too, like the Hunter's bow I think is just exceptionally strong, and the mages seem to be very powerful, but that's nothing that can't be tweaked and changed down the line. Wrapping things up, I think a lot of players love the look and feel of a game like Fortnite, but maybe they aren't in love with the building aspect of the game, and Realm Royale could be the game for you. You know, it combines BR with MOBA style elements, and I don't think anyone's really done that before for a BR game. So I'm quite interested to see where this goes and how the development progresses over the next 6 months. But there have been some massive streamers and YouTubers playing this recently and absolutely loving it. And while that doesn't mean much, it does tend to be a bit of an indication if the game has potential. And obviously if Twitch streamers are streaming it and people like me and bigger YouTubers are covering the game, then that's gonna put the word out there that it's a thing and it's been released. I actually found out about it from Thick44 from Battlefield Friends when I was in LA recently for E3. He was staying in the same hotel as me and saw me at breakfast and just said, you know, you should totally try this game out. Thick's usually quite critical when it comes to game, and he said that he enjoyed it. Checked it out. Not bad. But if you've played it or give it a go, let me know what you think down in the comments below. And that's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.